Hey there, my friends. Vulnerability is one of those hot topics, word that's being kicked around. And fellow social worker and really a brilliant individual in general named Brene Brown wrote an incredible book a couple years ago called Daring Greatly. And I will put a link to that book in the title after I'm done with this video. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm working a lot with dads, fathers, so on. And guys in general, especially in our culture, have a real hard time with this idea of vulnerability. We're taught to be the leaders, the fixers of the family. We're supposed to be stoic. We're not supposed to show our emotions. And vulnerability is sometimes thought of as one of the ultimate signs of failure or poor masculinity, because you're showing your weakness, aren't you? You're showing your emotions, which is a no-no for guys, right? You're showing where you are open to attack. Well, hell, if that's how you define vulnerability, I wouldn't want to be it either. But when it comes to the people in our lives, our wives, other females, hey, Lenny, our children, they really require our vulnerability in order to learn the full range of their emotional capacity, to develop emotional intelligence in themselves, empathy for other people. And if we're not willing to be vulnerable with them, how on earth are they ever going to learn this? One of the things that people know about me is how vulnerable I'm willing to be. And when they ask me, say, how can you put so much out there? How can you be so authentic and so real? And I think a lot of that has to do with how I define vulnerability. Every time I put myself out there, that I'm emotional, that I show my humanity, my fragility. I'm not thinking, okay, I'm putting my heart out here. Feel free to stomp on it. That's not how I think about it. That's not how I define vulnerability. The way I think about vulnerability is I am showing up in a fully human way. And I am inviting you to join me in that space. So when I see vulnerability, when I think of it as a leadership quality. I'm willing to be fully human with you, which means I'm embracing my imperfections. I'm not trying to hide anything, I am not trying to pretend that I don't have challenges, that I don't have areas in which I'm not really strong. Call them a weakness, call them a challenge, whatever you want to call them, because every human being does not have a perfect skill set. We have things we're good at. We have things we're poor at. And there are people running around this world, the vast majority of them, pretending like this is not true for them, pretending like they have it all together. They got it all figured out. Nothing can touch them. Nothing can hurt them. That's a wonderful bullshit story, but it's just not true. And when you can show up and be fully human saying, I know this is true for me. I know it's true for you too. I know you have areas of challenge. I know there are things you're not good at. I know you're imperfect. That's why I don't have to say, oh, gotcha, caught you, way to go, genius. People that criticize other people for being imperfect, making mistakes, are people that are living that lie that they are not human, that they are not just as human as everybody else. Because if you understood that, you wouldn't criticize somebody else. You would say, me too, brother. I sometimes fall flat on my face. I sometimes make mistakes. We're in this together, brother. We're human. We both have those human moments. So when you fully understand that and embrace that as a reality of the human condition, you can show up from that very vulnerable, fully human place, model it to other people, and invite them to join you there. And promise them that they'll be safe. They'll be safe in joining you in vulnerability. Because why would you criticize something? Why would you exploit something that you share yourself? Vulnerability is a sign of strength, a sign of leadership, that you're willing to step up and show up in a very human way. And if you think of vulnerability in those terms, where's the threat really? All you're really doing is showing the world something that they already know is the case. that you are fully human. But they're not confident enough to show up in that way yet. That's why it's so important for you to model it consistently. So they see the strength in doing so. They see the power it has in the lives of other people because they see you doing it, realizing that it's a powerful place to become from. There are so many more resources available to you when you use all of yourself, as opposed to trying to compartmentalize all of those things that you are afraid other people are going to see. There's so much you don't give to this world. And all because you're afraid that others might see it and criticize it. If they do, it's just an indication of where they're lying to themselves about who they are. And you're not any less from a criticism. If anything, the other person's just showing you that they're afraid. That's it. So showing up vulnerable is showing up complete, showing up strongly, being a leader and showing other people how it's done. You really want to make a serious impact in the world? Be vulnerable more often in front of more people. Probably not so much of an easy road. It's taken me, I'm going to be 47 in a few weeks. It's taken me many decades to get to this place of being very confident in my vulnerability. But it's possible to get there. It's hard work, but it's possible. And if you want my help, just ask. Thank you all. Manuel, Lenny, for chiming in. I value your time. Love you guys. This has been Brian, and we'll talk again soon.